Surprise coming here soon. And they don't start releasing videos and footage about you, boy. Because you got some skeletons in your closet. That's why you want to hurt everybody that say something about you. That's why you want to go hurt somebody that say something about you.
We find ourselves in the shadowy heart of Memphis, where legends are born and just as easily destroyed. And tonight, it's not the streets, but the courtroom that's taken center stage. Hernandez Govan, Govin Hernandez to those who only know him by reputation, emerges from the fog of scandal, the ink on his acquittal barely dry, and suddenly the world is supposed to believe he's not just innocent, but untouchable. But as the smoke clears, here comes Charleston White, breathing fire on social media, slicing through Govan's carefully built persona with all the subtlety of a chainsaw at a birthday party. The question on everyone's lips isn't just did Govan beat the case, it's who exactly did we just set loose? Because White's accusations don't just sting, they detonate, turning a not guilty verdict into the start of something far more sinister.
How does it feel to be at the end of this 4-year journey that you've been on?
Feels great. Just feel like I've been born again. I get a chance to restart my life and do some positive things.
For those who missed it, Govan's miracle in the courtroom felt less like justice and more like a magic trick, one where nobody's sure who the real magician is. Prosecutors spent months painting Govan as the puppet master behind the daylight attack on young Dolph, Memphis's favorite son, and for some, the very heartbeat of the city. The evidence? Endless calls, testimony from Cornelius Smith, who admitted to being one of the shooters and swore under oath that Govan was the man pulling the strings, offering guns, drop locations, and a cut of the bounty. Smith says Govan wanted $10,000, pocket change for a man supposedly orchestrating the most high-profile takedown in Memphis rap history. The prosecution dragged in phone records, bank statements, eyewitnesses, and more until the pile was so high even the defense started looking winded. But 3 hours into deliberations, the jury shrugged, shook their heads, and let Govan walk. Maybe they saw holes in the case. Maybe they saw something or someone else pulling the strings.
What about young Dolph?
Yeah, I know Dolph. I knew Dolph personally. Yes, sir. We did business years ago before he actually blew up. He was rapping at the time, but he hadn't blown up yet. Just being in the streets, selling petty back and forth. So yeah, I knew Dolph personally. He was a good dude.
And just as Govan steps out of court, not a trace of sweat on his brow, the internet goes nuclear. Charleston White, never one to whisper when he can shout, starts lobbing verbal grenades in all directions. In his telling, Govan isn't some misunderstood businessman or a wrongly accused family man. He's a fake street figure, a man whose entire public life is just cosplay, a shadow boxer fronting as a kingpin while the real sharks circle behind him. White's words land heavy, echoing through timelines and DMs because in this world, being exposed as a fraud is worse than being caught with a smoking gun. But the accusations don't stop at Govan's reputation. No, they twist, dig, and burrow deeper, suggesting Govan isn't just an imposter, but a pawn. Someone manipulated, maneuvered, and when the cameras are off, left holding the bag for other people's chaos. Is he a mastermind or a mark? That's the tension electrifying every group chat from Beale Street to YouTube comment sections.
When you were waiting for the verdict this morning?
Nervousness, of course, it's natural. But I got a team around me that was very confident and supportive, so without them, it wouldn't be no me. I just want to thank again Manny, Robert, Haley, Beth, Handel, Contrell, Leanne, and just everybody that played a part in proving my innocence.
Charleston White's real bombshell, though, comes wrapped in 3 little letters. FBI. There it is. The one accusation that sends shivers through every back room and corner booth in Memphis. Smith, the state's main witness, even hinted at it from the stand, saying he'd heard Govin might be working with the feds. The defense lawyer laughed it off. If you thought he was an informant, why would you take a job from him? But in this game, nobody laughs for long, because in the world of Memphis street politics, being tagged as a federal snitch isn't just a scarlet letter, it's an open invitation for trouble. Suddenly, every deal, every late-night call, every cash drop gets a second look. Did Govan really dodge the case because of weak evidence? Or did someone on the inside give him a helping hand? Some industry vets mutter that Govan's luck isn't just luck at all. Maybe it's the sort of luck you buy, or worse, the kind you trade for secrets that could bury everyone else.
You called that testimony with Jesse Browning BS a joke. Why?
Because it was. Half the stuff was just made up within a couple of days of this stuff, and they gave us this mystical receipt that's never been in any of the police reports. The jurors didn't buy it for a second. The lead investigator, Dabney, was incredibly honest when he said these are the mistakes that we made.
Of course, the streets have their own theory, a whisper campaign running alongside every breaking news alert. For months, the rumor mill's been working overtime, claiming Govan's been quietly funneling cash to Big Jook's people. The idea? It's all hush money, exchanged under the table to keep certain names out of court records and certain truths out of headlines. 3 former road managers swear they saw stacks changing hands at late-night meetups, always in unmarked bills, always with a third party playing courier. Nobody can prove it, and of course, the label keeps its lips sealed. But in Memphis, sometimes silence is louder than a press release. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a retired detective to see why. If Govan was ever on the Fed's payroll or even just passing along information, the cash could be payback. It could be insurance. It could be an IOU for a secret that, if exposed, would torch reputations from here to Atlanta.
Like I said, it's kind of hard to explain the feeling of getting your life back, just from 12 people, so I'm just blessed. And I'm just ready to go see my son.
But behind every headline, every viral clip, every meme of Govan hugging his lawyer, there's a personal story most folks don't want to talk about. Because Govan, for all his courtroom theatrics and slick-talking defenders, has his own ghosts, starting with Destiny Gold, the daughter whose story has become the city's latest open wound. Destiny's not here to give her side, but her absence hangs over Govan like a thundercloud nobody wants to acknowledge. The family says he vanished when they needed him most. Destiny was left to fate, while Govan chased the next headline, the next opportunity to stand center stage. They say he barely bothered with the funeral, leaving the grieving to those who actually cared, while he slipped into the next interview or posed for the next round of Instagram likes. It's the sort of neglect that doesn't make headlines. Until, suddenly, it does. And that's when Charleston White's narrative picks up speed. Govin, the man who supposedly pulled the strings in the Dolph case, can't even pull himself together for his own family. What does that say about the kind of person he really is?
That's the problem. You don't know who's who. You don't know who your enemies are. Plus, you got a bunch of, crazy young Dolph fans that, might just take the law into their own hands, like not even knowing really the whole story.
Yep, you got to know the whole story, man. That's one thing about it. You might somebody and it wasn't even that.
The streets remember Destiny Gold, how her passing broke the family, how her friends held candlelight vigils while Govan sent out carefully worded statements, always just distant enough to avoid blame. The family's anger is raw, and it doesn't care about courtrooms or clout. As one cousin told a local reporter, "We grieved while he disappeared." For all the cash rumors, all the alleged side deals, it's the personal betrayals that stick. Maybe that's why Charleston White's words hit so hard. It's not just about being a fake. It's about being a hollow shell manipulated by shady associates, willing to burn any bridge, family included, if it means one more second in the limelight. We're left with a portrait of a man whose reputation is now built on sand. Govin Hernandez, acquitted but not absolved, accused but never truly confronted, walks free for now, but everywhere he steps, he leaves footprints nobody can ignore. He's the so-called mastermind who might just be the world's oldest pawn, the supposed street legend whose closest ties run not to the blocks of Memphis, but to the back rooms of federal buildings, and the kind of characters who trade loyalty for leverage. Each time he opens his mouth or reposts another selfie, we're forced to wonder, does he even believe the story he's selling, or has he been so twisted by the lies, the pressure, and the power games that he can't remember which version of himself he's supposed to be playing?
I'm always on edge because there's cases I thought I would have won easily, and the jurors just get swayed by the publicity and the media. It's been so one-sided, calling him a mastermind. The press has been going crazy because only the DA talks. And that's the problem with our system, is because they make such a good first impression saying everybody's guilty that it's hard to get a fair trial. But thank God we got jurors. They took hundreds of pages of notes. And
somewhere, just off camera, those shady associates keep pulling strings, nudging Govan toward one feud or another, always making sure the spotlight stays exactly where they want it. When Charleston White called him out, the backlash was instant, like someone set fire to a stack of dynamite in the middle of a crowded club. And Govan, instead of facing the music, seemed to play right into their hands, picking fights, lobbing insults, stoking drama with all the finesse of a guy who's been told exactly what to say and when. You can almost see the puppet strings in the glint of the flashbulbs, because in this world, the one thing more dangerous than being called an informant is being exposed as a tool. A man with just enough clout to be useful, just enough ego to be reckless, but never quite enough self-awareness to see what's coming next.
And I'm gonna tell you this. You too arrogant and you too cocky. They gonna leave your unsolved because of what they know about you. We don't know about you. The public don't. But law enforcement and police do.
As the city of Memphis tries to heal from another devastating blow, and as young Dolph's family waits for a justice that may never arrive, The rest of us are left to pick through the debris of Govan's crumbling empire. The verdict may have set him free, but the court of public opinion is just getting started, and the questions swirling around his informant past, his backroom payoffs, and his failures as a father show no signs of dying down. Every new rumor adds another layer to the labyrinth. Every whispered confession, another twist in the story, and through it all, the truth, whatever it is, remains just out of reach. Flickering at the end of a hallway, nobody wants to walk alone.
I think it's pretty likely. I think when he suggested that he's going to leave town immediately, Count suggested that there may be some type of retaliation against him.
If we step deeper into the shadows of this story, the Memphis rap scene begins to look less like a music industry and more like a chessboard. The more we dig into Govin Hernandez's ties to CMG, the clearer it becomes that we're staring at a network built on loyalty, leverage, and calculated violence. A network where Hernandez, for all his denials, may have served as a silent enforcer. The whispers that Hernandez acted as a fixer for Yo Gotti's camp have haunted the back alleys of Memphis for years. But since the Dolph trial, those whispers are starting to sound a lot more like shouts. If we listen to prosecutors, to street sources, and to the endless social posts swirling around the case, a picture emerges of Hernandez operating as the kind of man who does the jobs nobody else wants to touch. Then slips into the night before the dust settle. In this world, loyalty comes at a price, and Govan's price was always a moving target. From the earliest days of the PR-CMG feud, there's been a sense that certain names rise and fall not by accident, but by design. The theory goes that Govan wasn't just connected to CMG, he was embedded, trusted to relay messages, line up hitters, and tie off loose ends, with as little noise as possible. The state pointed to Hernandez as the middleman between Anthony Big Jook, Mims, and the shooters, the go-between who could keep his hands clean while making sure the streets ran red. If you believe Smith's testimony, Govan provided not just the inside information but the actual weapons, and the reassurance that everyone would get paid. But as we've seen, promises in this world mean nothing until the cash is in hand, and in this case, the payout turned into one of the city's dirtiest secrets.
So what's next for him? Does he have an exit plan? Because we know the are coming fly on the plane now, so...
Yeah, like if you watch the end of the interview, I talk about him moving out of Memphis, and he's like, yeah, I have plans to do it, but I gotta, I got family here, I'm trying to do it, but I'm not sure when I'm gonna do it, and I'm like, man, you need to do it.
We all know the headlines. A $100,000 bounty allegedly dangled over Dolph's head by Big Jook. Smaller bounties handed out like party favors to anyone willing to go after PRE artists. But behind the headlines is a story of deception and double-cross, because when it came time to settle up, almost everyone got shortchanged. Cornelius Smith admitted under oath that he got just $800, a fraction of what was promised, and his lawyer later received another $50,000 in mystery money that seemed to come out of nowhere and land with no explanation. For all the supposed windfalls, a full $90,000 from the original hit remains completely unaccounted for, vanishing into the same black hole where Memphis street secrets go to hide.
Help poor people.
You were very passionate in your closing arguments about, about Govan being just a man from Orange Mound up against the system. Kind of talk about where that passion came from.
When I go to 201 and look at the people that are in there, I know a lot of people do wrong, and I understand that, and I don't want violence in the streets because I live, in towns as well. But
And that's where the story tilts from street legend to tabloid nightmare. Where did the missing $90,000 go? Did Hernandez keep it as a personal bonus for keeping the heat off CMG's top brass? Or was the cash a payoff to silence someone higher up the chain? 3 industry veterans point fingers at a sprawling cover-up, suggesting the funds may have greased the wheels at every level, from attorneys to informants, with nobody getting what they bargained for except the man who walked out of court a free agent. If true, the money trail could lead right back to the kind of deals that end careers, or worse, erase people from the map altogether.
And they virtually echoed everything that he said in closing. And they were very critical that anyone could be locked up that long and didn't have the resources to defend themselves. The jurors said that. They echoed that, and the guy said, I am offended. I'm offended by this.
Nowhere is the tension thicker than when we come to the fate of Big Jook, Yo Gotti's brother and the alleged bankroller behind the Dolph scheme. Jook's own shooting earlier this year was as public as it was brutal. Another daylight hit with no suspects, no arrests, and no shortage of rumors. One former security consultant for CMG claims that after Dolph's passing, the whole organization began to unravel from the inside. Suddenly, the same connections that protected people like Hernandez became liabilities, and every meeting felt like a setup. Was Jook eliminated because he knew too much? Was Hernandez involved, cleaning up loose ends before anyone could testify? The label hasn't commented, but the streets are certain the dots connect. In Memphis, Retribution rarely waits for a court date.
Bless him, man. That ain't nothing but God for him, man. He should take advantage and run. 10 years you had, and then you was facing life, like life without the possibility of parole. Yeah, the average person would have took that 10.
Every player in the story seems to orbit around a single, corrosive truth. In the battle for power, nobody's life is guaranteed. Young Dolph wasn't the only target. Prosecutors said Big Jook and his circle wanted every PRE artist taken out, with smaller bounties assigned for those willing to cross the line. The violence wasn't random. It was strategic, coordinated, and, if you believe the experts, directed by men like Hernandez who lived in the gray space between boss and underling, always with one eye on the exit. The consequences didn't stop with Dolph. Every drive-by, every rumor of a missing witness, every mysterious payment has the fingerprints of a city at war with itself, where fame and infamy are often two sides of the same coin. And through it all, Hernandez managed to keep one step ahead, always claiming he was the wrong man in the wrong place at the wrong time. His legal team painted him as a victim of circumstance, a scapegoat for a case nobody could fully unravel. Yet, when we watch the phone records, the meetings at midnight, the way money flowed between the camps, it's hard not to see Hernandez as the spider at the center of a very lucrative web. If he was manipulated, he was also complicit, bending with the wind but never letting himself blow away. His silence in court spoke volumes. He didn't testify. He didn't need to. The deals had already been made.
I mean, even if you didn't pull the trigger, you're still the mastermind behind it. So you still should have did some time.
Meanwhile, the street is littered with the aftermath. Young Dolph's fans mourn not just a rapper, but a symbol. A man who gave back, who tried to rewrite the rules, only to be gunned down in the city he loved. Big Jook's fate serves as a warning for anyone who thinks power lasts forever. Even the shooters themselves, left penniless and betrayed, tell a cautionary tale about the cost of loyalty in a world where your only reward might be a few bills and a cell with no windows. And at the center of it all is Hernandez, walking free, smiling for the cameras as if daring the world to come at him again. We're left with more questions than answers. If Hernandez really was a secret agent for CMG, what else has he done that hasn't come to light? If the missing money was meant to buy silence, how many more payoffs are hiding in the margins of this story? Did Big Jook's untimely end clear the board for someone even more dangerous? Or was it just another chapter in a saga with no end in sight? We can't ignore the sinking feeling that more names could be added to the list. Each one another victim of the endless cycle of loyalty, betrayal, and violence that seems to rule the Memphis underground. So here's where we leave you. One man's freedom, bought with other people's silence, a trail of broken promises, missing cash, and lives derailed. The court may have set Hernandez loose, but the streets know that justice isn't served by verdicts, it's measured in secrets kept and enemies outmaneuvered. And if Hernandez could escape justice once, who's to say he won't do it again? How many more secrets are out there waiting to explode? Drop your theories, your outrage, and your wildest guesses in the comments, because something tells us this story isn't over. Until next time, stay alert, stay skeptical, and remember, in Memphis, nothing is ever what it seems.